Okay, hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we bench race with the world's top drag racers. My name is Bill Pratt. It's awesome to be with you tonight. And tonight we feature Walt Fuller, also known as Wally Fuller. You pick the way you want to call him, but he's one of the top nitro funny car racers out of the Arizona area, match racing for many years, hitting that big national event out there. And he's going to tell us all about those awesome days when it was fun to race. Before we bring in Wally, let's go to John. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing great here, BP, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to BP and Wally.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Appreciate you, buddy. And folks, click the like, click the share. The like is the little thumbs up button down below. The share button's not too far from that. Let your friends know we have Walt Fuller here live. To prove it, let's bring him in. Walt Fuller, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, guys.
Awesome to have you here. I mean, you're just in the man cave of all man cave back there. Tell us what we're looking at behind you.
There's a 426 and a 392. That's I call them dummies because the blocks are actually styrofoam. These are just parts that I've gathered over the years after selling the funny car operation. So, I mean, they're available to buy for your man cave or your garage or your office. I just like fooling around and keeping busy.
It's really awesome. So it looks like a little bit of an altered. Is there a body behind that Hemi right behind you?
The car behind me is my wife's 57 Ford T-Bird.
Okay, woohoo. And we see a top fuel dragster in the rafters. What's that all about?
That's actually Gary Celsi drove the car. He won the world champion 3 times with it, it's the Winston car. We actually bought it from Chris Caramassini, and the wife and I put it together for the daughter out in Phoenix to drive, and she made half a dozen passes in it, and everything kind of went south with it, with just life getting involved. So
Got it. Well, I guess you said before we get into the show, you got a video of her hitting a pretty hard 60 foot and 330 with that thing. Man, I'd love to see that.
yeah, I'll send you the video of it. It was pretty awesome. I was proud of her. She drove it like she knew what she was doing. So
That's outstanding. Wow. Well, I know we're going to talk about the timeline of your amazing funny cars, but and the history. But I guess I've been looking at Facebook, peeking around there, and I noticed a Jet Dragster, sort of
yeah,
is in the future. Tell us about
we
that.
acquired it. We acquired it last year. I had a 37 Austin 10 that we acquired, and it was right-hand drive. Actually came from Australia, and this jet car came available, and the guy and I started talking, and he wanted the Austin to trade for the jet car, and I said, why not? Let's do something different. Let's go. Let's actually get paid to go racing. You know.
That's yeah, that's great. Oh, you got one of the great jet tuners of all time living with you right in that area. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, Scott's actually from Tucson, and he's out on the road now. But I talked to Scott before I bought the car or traded for the car, and he told me what to look for and whatnot. And he told me I couldn't really get hurt getting on it because the old J34 34s are pretty indestructible. So I did some changing to the roll cage and added correct bars per NHRA. And then Scott came out in October, November, and we rolled it out of the garage and we fired the thing off. And I got videos of that too. I'll send you. And it was quite hilarious because my dad was always against jet cars, and of course Al, Scott's father, that's what he got into and enjoyed life with. And after we got done starting the car and sitting around bullshitting, drinking beer, I told him, I says, your dad's laughing his ass off and my dad's turning over in his grave, you know?
Old Al drove everything from pro stocks to funny nitro funny cars and finally jets. He dabbled in it
Yeah,
all.
it's going to be interesting. We got a couple of bookings made. We got Scott that's going to help drive it until Macon gets his license, and then actually Tammy Gatlin offered to have her services too. You know,
Oh, nice.
so and she's driven several jet cars. You know,
Yeah, we got her all over. We track the jet cars on the drag racing list, so we got to get you on there. And of course,
Yeah,
we've had
okay.
Tammy, and we've had them all. So who's Macon? Is that your son or someone else?
Macon Jackson, you guys did.
Oh,
You
Macon
talked to him.
Jackson.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. So Macon Jackson's going to get a jet ride, huh?
Yeah. Hey, we talked to him. I met Macon probably a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years by now. And he was a friend of Scott Cusimano's, but how I met Macon was we did a display with the last funny car out there at Ennis for Funny Car Chaos.
Mhm.
And there's nothing else to do when you're displaying a car. So I was standing in line for the beer and liquor event. And Macon was behind me, and we got bullshitting, and he bought me a Jack and Coke, and we went back and stood by the car and started talking, and it just took off from there, man.
There you go. Like many good conversations start with a good Jack and Coke. Amen to that.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, your family's been in the area for a long time. No, your dad Don was racing Pro Comp when it first came out. In fact, I
Yes,
think
sir.
we have an
My
entry that's
partner, him and Don Fuller and John Crook, they started out actually with a Buick back in the early days and did the front motor cars for a while, and then ended up doing a rear engine car, which they built and ran a injected small block in it for a long time. And then I remember NHRA got too expensive for them, so they went to sand racing, and just they loved life because it reminded my dad of the olden days where you went out and had fun, you know.
right. Man, I tell you, it's a great group out there. You guys know Goosick and all those guys. I mean, it's like,
Oh yeah, I know Bill, Tom. I'm sorry Jim passed away, but yeah, I grew up with them. Actually, Bill drove the Bushwacker car for me several times. So,
wow. Didn't know that. That's
yeah,
pretty amazing.
a tight bunch, you know. The Chandler guys, the Phoenix guys, the Glendale guys. We all hung out together, you know. Everybody went racing at the same time. So,
I love it. That's amazing. Well, John, let's see. We're about that 10 after. Let's take a quick check in with Mr. Bockelman here and see who's out there on the chat line.
We're here from coast to coast tonight, y'all. Randy Johnston in Northern California says hello all. This is the first of a list of great guests upcoming.
Yep.
And Jack Red in Maryland says hi everyone. Rich Panicaro in New Jersey says good evening everybody. And Rodney Potter in Wayne, New York says hi everyone. And we're caught up for the moment.
Howdy everybody, welcome. Come up with your questions if you got any, but kick back and enjoy. So well, let's see. John, you had something?
Yeah, Pete Mariello in Los Angeles just showed up and he says good evening.
Howdy, Pete. There's another funny car guy, Walt. I don't know if you've seen, he's one of those SIFCA guys that started out injected. Those are really great
yeah.
group of guys out there.
Also, Kay Thurkelson in Salt Lake City says good evening.
Howdy, Kay. Miss Kay looking out for us.
So we're all here. You're telling great stories, Wally. We're really enjoying it, man. I don't have any questions yet, but they'll be coming in with it.
Well,
Okay.
well, let's so I'm picking you up then, back in 1986. And I've got a couple of cars like the Fuller and Crook. At one point, it was called the Bushwacker at one point. I don't know if there's the same car or just repainted, but you kind
No,
of jumped
it's
in with
same
both
car.
feet.
That was actually my first top alcohol car. It was a Sartay car, and it was actually Gary Bergen's funny car.
Wow. Pretty amazing.
And we ran that for quite a while. Did a lot. I did a lot of improvements to the chassis, and then we sold everything. And I went to work. My first professional job, I guess you would call it, was I went to work for Roland Leon. So
No kidding.
yeah,
One of
and
our
spent a lot of time with Roland. Jim White was driving at the time, and we would spend a lot of time in Tulsa, and that's where I got to meet Bob Cripes and Jimmy Nix. And after I was done with Roland, Bob went to work for Jimmy because Jimmy went back into racing again, and Bob wanted me on board. So, and I think the first time we did some testing, and the first time we went to Pomona with it, we got into, I believe at the time it was the 5-second club.
Yeah.
So it could have been a 4-second club.
Well,
I still got
4-second club back then. Yeah, it's Smiling Jimmy Nix hit that that 4.
What's that?
I said Jimmy Nix hit that 4. I remember.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. I think it was 498 or 499.
Yeah, I think you're caught. I think 499 with an 8. Now you're going to make me go look, but it was pretty. Nonetheless, one of the first
I
ones
spent
ever.
a lot of time with Jimmy. I was there, unfortunately, when he had his first blowover down in Houston. You know, and that was a sight to see. I mean, you just kind of raised your eyebrows and said, "Oh, now what?" You know. So
Right. Man, that's crazy. Well,
but I got to work with a lot of good people. I worked with Hoover, Tom Hoover. Spent a lot of time in Frank Bradley's camp. I knew Scott really good. I actually spent time front halving Scott's car at Johnny's shop, and I forget what year that was, but Coletta, sorry, Scott Coletta. So,
yeah, I was about to ask. Awesome.
So yeah, he went to. I remember went to Pomona, had issues. He ended up at Johnny's house, and we front half the car in a week. And then he went to Phoenix and set low ET, miles per hour, whole 9 yards. So
Wow. He was flying back in those days.
yeah,
Pretty amazing. Well, when did you kind of get back? I know like 1990. I think you came back. I don't have any times for you that year. I guess did you come back in 90 or was it 91? Do you recall? I'm
well, I
testing
think
your
I
memory.
actually came back in 94, 95 because I spent a lot of time with Johnny West, with the bonsai car. We had awesome times with that deal.
Right.
Johnny taught me a lot. I still live by his rules today, as to being on the road, how you spend your money, and how you work on the car. I'm still a true believer of it because it still works. You know, quit reinventing the wheel and go faster. You know, but when Johnny had his crash at Englishtown, and after I hauled everything back, we took probably a month off, and then he asked if I wanted to come and rebuild the car for him, and I did. And I actually worked with him, and Paula Martin drove the car for a while, and then Jim Epperly drove it. And I just, one morning I woke up and got a wild hair up my butt and said, I'm just going to lay my own car. So that's what I did.
Wow. Well, we had, I've got you, racing back in the days. It seems, and I guess my question is, well, I asked you this off camera earlier, but my question was, did you do a lot of match racing? Because I saw you uh, try hit that big Phoenix race with all those, big money cars, and you made it to the alternates, either Phoenix or Bandimere on occasion. But you were saying that
Yeah,
you raced Jimmy a lot, right? Or
yeah,
Johnny.
we ran match races, Salt Lake City a lot. We'd actually hit Salt Lake City before we went to Denver. You could call it whatever you wanted. You can say I was part of the also ran group. Just a tight budget, and back in the day when you're young and stupid and stubborn, you think you can do everything yourself, and you can't.
Right.
That's you need to surround yourself with people that'll actually listen to you and make the car work.
Right.
Uh, and I have no regrets. Like I said, I was young and stupid. Did I have fun? Yeah, that was our main goal. I remember one incident in Denver. We ran Friday night, servicing the car. Gary Densham came over and walking through the pits, talked to Gary for a while, and then Gary says, "Where do you keep your beer at?" I said, "Well, you know where the cooler's at." Sure enough, he spent the rest of that evening with us in our camp. And I said, "Gary, don't you have things to do?" And he says, "No, they're taking care over there. I'm sitting here drinking your beer for a while." So
Nice.
and,
I know, and
back in the day, I guess I'm glad we didn't have social media,
yeah,
because we would all be in trouble.
amen to that. I know
Yeah.
it. Well, I saw in '97 you actually ran 3 national events, as far as I can tell. And
Yes, we did. After '96's big fire, it took me 6 months to regroup and gave it another shot. Did the fire scare me? Well, it got my attention. And it was one of those deals where you start listening to yourself and start buying good parts. No matter if it costs you more money, you still bought the good parts instead of get me by parts.
yeah.
Uh, but you had to do what you had to do.
Right.
So
Well, that's the thing over the years. I mean, that was kind of the way it worked back in the day. Even at the national events, you just kind of put together what you had and showed up. But
you know,
it can't
yeah, and
play
hope for
today
the
like
best.
that.
But I had a good time. Then after I sold everything, moved to Missouri, and kind of did nothing, and ended up buying a mod, Johnny Jet car, and tried the dirt scene for a while, and that got boring for me. So, and then I met my wife. Uh, I met my wife, which she's still with me today, and we'd watch racing on TV and whatnot. And she actually grew up went to the tracks in Union Grove.
Right.
So she knew all the heavy players. And one day I asked her, I said, "Do you want to go see Chris Caramasini?" And she says, "You know Chris?" I said, "Yeah, try to talk to him every week." And so we went and looked at the car that's up in the rafters. And week later, we went back and picked it up and started it all again.
Wow. Was that like what, about 2001, or do you recall? Was it
No, that we got married, that was in '07.
07, 08.
Oh, wait.
Got
So,
it. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I have you. I think I have a couple more years for you, but '98 to 2001, I didn't see at any national events. I don't know if you match raced or if you at that
no,
point.
I actually sold that car to a gentleman back in, I believe, Ohio, and he was a paraplegic. And he came out and he sat in the car and started it. And he bought the complete truck trailer race
Wow.
car spare parts, and he wanted to become the first paraplegic to drive with hand controls.
Wow.
And I don't know his success after that. I don't know what happened to him. So that I do know the car ended back up in Arizona, and somebody had it up in northern Arizona, and they was running it as a alcohol car.
Oh. Yeah, I never heard of him, so hope I don't think it happened, but pretty well. What do you think about, these days you could, with your deal, you could have run some funny car chaos and been right in the mix with these guys.
Yeah, we tried. I bought the last car that I put together. It was a DSR car slash McKinney car. Alex from at the time he worked for DSR. Now he's the head guru over at Tony Stewart's Racing. But he put together a program for me, and he did it right. I bought good equipment. We and the body. I actually bought the body from Jim Head, the Toyota body, and the car was coming around. I was making improvements on it. I wasn't killing it. We went to Odessa with the car, and I changed the fuel system for some reason because I thought it would be better. And we made 2 laps. Second lap, we kicked all the rods out of it. And the first thing I did was come back and put the old Johnny West timers and everything back on it, and the car hauled ass. And then the last time we ran the car at the Chaos race, I did have John Capps drive for me. And we made 1 lap and destroyed a throwout bearing. And, as luck would have it, everybody has a different throwout bearing than the one you need.
Right.
But John said the car was a rocket, and we would have ran good numbers. And it was the funny thing is, we'll go back a little turn here. He actually talked to Dale Worsham up at Vegas's race before the Chaos race, and Dale Worsham gave me high praise of knowing me and my operation and the whole 9 yards.
That's awesome.
I remember Dale back in the days that he wasn't old enough to drive, so everything was on bicycle.
Right.
Going around the track for you.
So the Toyota the Caps was driving was your car. I'm not sure if I knew that. I'll have to go validate and to make sure my stuff.
Yeah. Caps drove for us there at Ennis, and I couldn't be more pleased. I don't know why he doesn't have a full-time ride. I guess he makes too much money being a stunt driver, but he's very talented. Talented more than his brother, probably not, but right up there in the rankings.
Yeah, he's
John
great.
knows.
We have him coming on pretty soon, actually. So look forward.
Yeah, cool.
Had him on a long time ago, but we're gonna bring him back. So well, that's pretty great. Really appreciate that insight. That's cool stuff. Let me go to John real quick and see if folks on the chat line have any questions or thoughts.
Okay.
Yes, Macon Jackson is with us tonight, and he had some comments and some questions. And before I get to that, Mark Malinsky is with us from New Jersey, and he says, "Good evening, everybody." And Arnold Heron says, "Hey, Walt, looking good." And Macon, he said, "I'm so blessed to have Wally in my life." And he has some questions. He said, "Wally, did you ever drive?"
Yes, I drove for a while. Do I still want to drive? Not really. When you get my age, you'd rather just tune and make it go down the racetrack. Can I still drive? You betcha. Give me the opportunity. I'll give it another shot. But do I know better? Yeah, I know better.
Macon, he's got a 560 ET under his belt. They give you something to shoot for.
Okay. And, Oh, go ahead.
A 560. Well, the jet car, eighth a mile, probably would go that fast, The jet car, talking with Scott, we're looking at a 260, 275 with the J34 34. It's indestructible, So basically, Bacon and I are going to go out and have some fun.
That's a good J34 will get you 630s, about 250, 260, 630,
Yeah.
640, 650.
Yeah, Scott was saying the best we could probably do is 275 on the right day,
Yeah.
Run it like a bracket car,
Those big old monstrous motors. They're J34, a
Yeah.
lot of weight, a lot of power, but it's exciting.
Long way, long power. Big flames. So
What else we got, Mr. John?
Well, let's see. Pete Mariello made a post, and I'm not sure what y'all were talking about, but he said there was a guy named Andy Callahan who was in a California Independent Funny Car Association who used a wheelchair. He said, I believe it was a Barracuda in the late 1980s.
Wow, cool. Yeah.
that's impressive.
Yeah, and Macon Jackson said Wally is a great tuner without a computer. That takes
Old school.
From the
And-
Johnny West school, is that what that comes from?
And his last question was, what is your best story with Roland Leon?
Great question.
Well, I got several stories with Roland that I can't actually say because that would be not downgrading him. That's kind of a one-on-one friendship to friendship that what stays behind the trailer doors stay behind the trailer doors,
Mhm.
But Roland was a very, very patient gentleman. Him and Susie took care of the crew. I wish he was still with us. He was a great tuner, independent, and stubborn, just like all the good time old racers,
Yep. He's awesome. I was privileged to get to know him a little bit these last few years at the track when he was still, tuning for folks here and there. And then we had him on the show within the last couple of years. But it's a blessing to have known him for sure. John,
Yes.
is that
I was honored to be asked to make this graphic, and Jeff Elliker ended up having posters printed of it and everything, and his daughters have them, and we made stickers and decals and everything for Roland. He was a true legend.
absolutely? Yeah, we're lucky we get to hang out with the turning heroes into pals. That's our tagline here. And we're doing it
There you
tonight with
go.
Walt Fuller, everybody. Well, Walt, going back to like John Crook, he partnered with your dad, but also, right, partnered with you and tuned for you for a while. Is that the case?
Yeah, my father and John Crook, they, like I said, they had the injected car. And when I told them I was buying an alcohol funny car, they were dragster guys and got nothing against them, But John kind of took me under his wing, and he was one of the gentlemen that, even if something was wrong, he would make you feel that it was all right and still go down the racetrack,
Mhm.
kind of get your mind off of issues that were happening with the race car to make you focus on what you're doing, And after I sold the car, my first car or second car, I drove my dad and John's top fuel car, blown small block in the sand. We set several records with it and won several events, and we had a great time. We had fun with it, and enjoyed it. So that's part of my childhood growing up and adult life growing up. I wish they both were still here. Yeah, I wish my dad was still here so I could tell him that I made the wrong choice. I
Should-
mean, when drag racing gets in your blood, that's all you know. You know.
Yeah, I've seen it. Oh my God, I've kept an arm's length. It's so much cheaper to write about it and talk about it than it is to race them. But
It
I do
is.
appreciate the
It's
racers.
it's funny. Arnold, which he's helping on the jet car, which he phoned in. My wife and I, for Christmas last year, we bought a Wally and put a plaque on there, thanking him for his help and being part of the team. And we gave it to him for Christmas. And boy, it was like you couldn't got anything better for him, you know.
Like you won a
So,
Wally. That's great.
yeah. Well, that was funny because, you know, I tell my wife, you know, all these years of trying and succeeding in defaults, you know, if we would have just went out and bought 100 of these, it would have been a lot cheaper than running a car, you know. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I carried over some guys with this jet car, which they're guys just like John Crook was, people that you can trust with your life, you know. Down there in Houston, we got Brett Wilson and then Arnold and David Zoller from Plano. He's starting to come back around and hang out with us, you know. The funny thing is these guys want to turn wrenches and there's nothing to do, you know.
Yeah.
Add fuel to it and here we go again, you know.
Don't tighten lug nuts and stuff, I guess, man.
Yeah, just checking stuff, you know. No more late night thrashes, nothing, you know.
Mhm. Pretty great stuff, though. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys get out there. So, Val, do you have a favorite of all your cars? You've raced, you know, Forenzas, Cutlasses, and Toyotas.
Yeah, actually, the car I built was a great car. I got a lot of great feedback from NHRA. The first race we went to, remember going up through Tech, and we had 7 Tech guys all over the car. And of course, you know, building your own car, you're thinking to yourself, okay, what are they looking for now? What are we doing? Why so many people? You know. And when it all got said and done, the head guy came over and told me it was a beautiful piece, and he liked the way it was put together. He liked the welds, the whole 9 yards. You know, and that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
The top fuel car was fabulous. It was low to the ground, sleek, and it was something to be proud of. But the best car was my last one. It had the look, everything was there, other than not having the cubic dollars to run it properly, you know.
Right. What did you have on the side of that one? I'm probably sitting right behind me.
What on which one? The top fuel car or
Well,
the funny
the
car?
Top Fuel and the Toyota.
Okay, the top fuel car. It was called MJ Motorsports, which was for Melinda Joe, which is my
Okay.
daughter. And then the funny car, I had, I think it was Wally Works when we ran Odessa. And then we did a tribute. I know John quite well. We did a tribute for Eric Medlin. I remember when I was with Jimmy Nix, I spent time at John's shop when he had his mechanic shop down in Arkansas.
Because that's those
So,
guys, they're down that way too, right?
yeah. So I contacted John and told him I wanted to do a tribute to Eric, and he said that he would be proud. We took the car to San Antonio, and I couldn't get that thing out of its own way. I couldn't hit my hands on my ass to save my life, you know. And I called John up after the races, and he says, I says, dude, I don't know what I'm doing. And he says, you know exactly what you want and how to do it. He says, and the thing about it is, Eric will tell you if something's wrong. So I went back to a old Johnny West tune-up that I was around all of my life, and we went to Ennis, and it woke the car up like you wouldn't believe, you know. And it was you see that pass, and you say to yourself, okay, I do understand what I'm doing, so let's go play now. So
Right. I love it. What a great story. Fantastic. And yeah, Sartake cars and Pfluger cars and West cars and Walt Fuller cars and McKinney and DSR for good measure. Really
yeah.
amazing. Well, going back to the day, what kind of got you started at the very beginning? Was just running around after your dad, or
No, yeah, run and being part of my dad and John Crooks situation, you know. I mean, we were drugged to the racetrack all the time, you know. My sisters and I and brother, and then when I had a family, I drugged my kids, you know, and it was all part of racing life, you know. And then one day I wanted to start out, and I bought a front motor car, which ended up being one of my dad and John's last car, and I ran that on injected alcohol, and it just wasn't me, you know. And finally ended up buying the Sartay car out of New York, and started with the back in those days it was BBFC, you know.
yeah, double B funny car, ladies and gentlemen. I wish it still was. I mean, I'm old school like that. I love it. Well, we heard some great road stories. Where are we at? 38. What are some of your interests away from the track? Do you have things you like to do when you're not racing?
Well, I'm a fabricator, you know. um, I run a shop in Dallas, Reinhardt Fabrication. We build anything out of metal,
Hmm.
from not coat hangers, but coat racks to um, road signs. And when I come home, you know, I get my home projects that I try to do, come out to the shop and spend 3 or 4 hours every night, you know. And other than that, my wife and I are slowing down, and we are actually enjoying lake life. We have property out at the lake, and we go out there quite often. You know, the body isn't what it used to be, but I still fabricate. You know, and I was taught the old way of fabrication. Uh, Nothing against the new guys and how they weld and how they make parts, but back in the days, cardboard was your friend, and you made your own tabs. You didn't go to the shelf and pick them off, and
Right,
you tried different brackets, and if you didn't like them, you made another one. Da 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 da. You know,
right.
same with changing the body and everything. You know, so.
So great. Well, do you have any shout outs to any spike? I guess it's laughable. I was about to say the word sponsors. I don't think you have a lot, but anybody to help
No,
you out out there?
like I said, Brett Wilson and David Zoller and Arnold Herring. They came aboard. Brenton and David was with me with the funny car. We actually met Arnold, and he's an old drag racer. He was out at the lake, had property out there, and we started drinking beers and hanging out together. And he wanted to go and be part of racing. Other than that, no, we don't. You know, I still have credibility with Goodyear and some of the other people that we get our free stuff from. You know, that
Right.
my name is still good. You know, would I ever go back to running a funny car again? Yes, I would. I would do it in a heartbeat. I would love to work with the young lady. She's a new alcohol lady that's putting her own team together, her own car. Miss Lucas out of Washington. She's very talented. She's ran pro mods. I think she would, after a year or so, getting alcohol underneath her belt, that she would make a great nitro driver. You know, and if you notice, a lot more females are coming out I respect Julie, which she used to drive. Well, she still drives for Myers, but she's been doing her licensing in Dell's car, and I respect her a lot.
Pretty great.
So,
What was the name of the lady from the Northwest that has the Alki car?
well, I want to say Yolanda or Yvonne Lucas. I think she
Okay,
was
gotcha.
on your guys' show a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago or a month or so ago. She's very talented. We've talked on the phone. Uh, I respect her a lot because of what she's doing and how she's doing it. She's just going to make a great driver. I'd like to have a part into it and help her along because there's just something there.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Well, I mean, can folks find you on the internet? Can they follow along with your activities? I know you got a little
Yeah,
on Facebook.
I mean, we haven't made a Facebook page with the Jet car because in reality, I wish my daughters would get involved because they could probably have my grandkids teach me how to do the Facebooking and tweeting and the whole 9 yards.
I can find you at Wally Works.
I mean, just follow us under Wally Fuller. I do want to make some kind of a page so we can do GoPro crap and the whole 9 yards. But once again, I'm still old school, and I know social media is where it's at, but sometimes you don't need it to be in your face to actually know what you're doing.
That's true. Well, I spend way too much time doing it, believe me. A couple hours every Sunday doing about 20 groups that my friend the late Danny White set up, and I'm trying to keep him going, but it's a lot of fun. Well, let's
Right.
take one last shot with John and the guys out there on the chat line before we say farewell. What's going on, John?
Okay, yeah, we've had several comments here. Speaking of Roland Leon, Jay Radabaugh said that Roland wrote the book on staying calm under pressure. As much as I was around him, I never once saw him get rattled. I always thought Roland Leon was the coolest guy on the planet to begin with. And Jack Red said, Roland and I played many games of pool together back in the day. And Macon Jackson asked if I could ask about the top fuel car that's hanging on the wall behind him, and I didn't notice that until he pointed it out.
Yeah, we chatted about it a little bit, but if you want to,
That's right. That's the same top fuel car that's in the graphic for Walt's feature. And
Yeah,
you had mentioned
that car there was Gary Selsey drove that to 3 world championships. And Alan Johnson was actually the owner tuner of it. It was the old Winston car.
right. 448, baby, in the quarter. That was one of the quickest cars, one of the first 440 cars, if not the
There
first.
you go.
Amazing.
well, you mentioned the San Antonio track, and Randy Johnston said San Antonio is a good track. It's just sitting there empty. Needs a good operator to put it back in operation. I suggested IHRA ought to step in and buy it like they're buying everything else. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's still a lot of good racetracks around here in Texas. They're like down there in Lufkin. It's a long shutdown area, a great quarter mile track. It's hard anymore because economy and people don't want to pay the high prices. So I mean, we're trying to do bookings, and tracks are struggling in to book us because not that we're asking a high price, it's just they don't have the extra money.
Right.
And if I wanted to go race for free, I mean, we'll go and test and tune for free. But if I wanted to go race for free, I'd still run Funny Car Chaos.
Right. Wally, where are you, in the Dallas area or somewhere?
Actually, just southeast of Dallas, in a little town called Kaufman, Texas.
Coughlin? Gotcha.
All right, man.
What else we got, John? Anything?
We're caught up for the moment.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. And Walt, it's been amazing visiting with you tonight. And thanks for taking us down, down the path of your career and showing us around the man cave. Any final thoughts for the fans before we say farewell?
No, I just stay healthy and happy, as we're going to try our best and our hardest. But as to Red Green would say, keep your stick on the ice.
Gotcha.
But no, it's been fun. I enjoyed it. I wish we could sometimes talk off of the air to really let people know what went behind the scenes.
Oh,
Like I said, I'm glad we didn't have social media back in the day.
we'll have Macon.
But I'll send you some videos of the dragster running, and I'll send you the video of John driving the tribute car.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Walt Fuller, we'll get Macon to buy us a Jack and Coke, and we'll talk about that stuff one of these days.
There you go. There's some good stories there.
All right. Good night, sir. Good night to your lovely wife, and lovely to meet with you. And we'll see you somewhere down the road. Good luck with that jet car.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Walt Fuller doing an amazing job for us here tonight. Let's see what we got. Well, whoops, I got to hit the right button. One of these days we'll get a pro in here, and that's see you later, sir. There we go. All right, that was Walt. Let's turn it over to John Bachman for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away, sir.
Thanks, BP. My pick for races of the week are Alfred Karnowicz Sr. and Jr. from Maiden, North Carolina. This father and son team have two outstanding funny cars, and they race in several nostalgia events around the country. I'm proud to feature them in tonight's segment. Al Jr. sent me the following information, which I will read word for word. He said, "We do mostly match racing and exhibition runs. Our first actual competing race was Funny Car Chaos at Maryland International Raceway. We ran a 419 at 176 in the Dixie Bandit funny car. My dad built hot rods growing up, and we built two front-engine dragsters that were alcohol injected. We did that for a couple of years and moved on to funny cars. The Dixie Bandit has a 511 Hemi in it with a Littlefield 1471 blower and an S&W chassis formerly owned by Jake Crimmins. Now, me and Dad put tin work in it and got it going. The Wild Horses Mustang has a 540 big block Chevy with a Littlefield 871 blower in it. Both cars were hand painted by Bob Alton, also known as Sleeveless Bob. Either car doesn't have one sticker on either one of them. The Spirit of St. Louis is a nitro cackle car with a 392 Hemi, which we also restored and Bob painted. Now, this is great information, Alfred, and thank you for taking the time to send this to me. We wish y'all good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future." My son Nick's band, Chironex, has completed 5 dates of a 10-city tour. They played last night in Amarillo, Texas, and they're on their way back to Houston for 2 days off before they go back on the road for the last 5 dates of the tour. I calculated the miles of this tour, and it came to 3,134 miles inside a couple of weeks. Like my friend Ken said, let the youngins do it. I never got to go on tour. I played some long distance gigs that were one night stands, but this is a cross country marathon trip, and I've been following it with great interest. And these guys are real troopers, and I wish them great success. They're the best metal band in Houston, and the exposure they get from this tour will no doubt help give them an extra push in their quest for national recognition. I couldn't be more proud of them. They're just damn good. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show, and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. We'll see y'all next time. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it, my friend, and good stuff. I'm glad the guys are safe and having fun on the tour. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
So
they are.
those are the days. We leave that to the youngsters. Let me see if we can make the magic work here as my notes don't want to pop up. But I do want to say, so we got a all hands on deck warning from Facebook again. Actually, the reason we're here, right, on YouTube is that Facebook shut down videos several months ago and didn't want to do live videos. Well, I just got notification that they don't want to host live videos anymore either. So they said, if you got anything on Facebook Live in our library there, get it out of there by June or you will lose it. So we had dozens, if not 100 shows or so that are out there still on Facebook Live. So all hands on deck, folks. I'm going to be, at some point moving those things over here to YouTube. I had planned to do it already, but this just kind of gives me a kick in the butt. If anybody out there is interested in like a semi-volunteer gig, and not 100% volunteer, I might toss a couple bucks, but if you want to help us move that stuff, that would be awesome. By the way, I'm also looking for a photo editor to try to put photos with all the Draglist entries. I've got tons of the most legendary photographers in the world who have offered us their work. And just, we got Rob actually putting the data out there, but sticking all those, putting entries with all photos with all those entries is something else we need to do. I just find that I'm not an octopus. I'm running out of tentacles here to get it all done. Holler at me if you're interested. And we'll work something out. But yeah, the first thing is first, we got to get those videos moved over here by June. So I'll be looking at that. It's always something. But anyway, we love being on Facebook because it's a lot of fun. Lets us catch up. But they're making some changes, and we got 3 months in advance here. About 3 months to go. Anyway, let's go on to our upcoming guests. Thanks to Miss Kay, who's working so hard out there. April 7th, next Monday night, Dan Pettinato of the Rat Poison AA Fuel Altered team will be joining us. We've known that the Pettinatos for years and years, stalwarts on the East Coast, running nitro for a solid 50 years or more, actually, about 55 years, just off the top of my head. So really looking forward to talking to Dan. On the 14th, we mentioned earlier, Jeff Elliker, the Nitro Funny Car driver, and of course the keeper of all things Roland Leong, and he's got a couple of other great Facebook groups like the Great Lakes Dragway group. Jeff's going to be on to chat with us and to talk about the good times that we had back in the day and the good times we're having today. On the 21st of April, Ida Zetterstrom joins us, the European Top Fuel champ, who you see week in and week out on the NHRA tour. Ida is going to be joining us, and that's going to be just an awesome show. On the 28th, Mike Lewis, the Nitro team manager of some of the largest Nitro teams of the last several years, of course, himself a Nitro Top Fuel owner and driver from back in the day. He's even taken a ride or two in nostalgia funny cars over the years. So we'll chat with Big Mike about all that good stuff. May is filled up as well. On the 5th of May, Matt Hagan will be joining us, the Big Show Nitro funny car driver. We've had him on the show before. Just a pleasure to talk with him. And we'll catch up with Big Matt and figure out what's going on in 2025. On the 12th, ladies and gentlemen, Gage Herrera, the pro stock motorcycle world champion, the reigning champ, joins us to tell us all about that amazing season he had last year, where he won almost every single race on the tour. And then finally, we mentioned him tonight, John Capps, coming on the 19th of May. Ron's bro and the guy who we just found out raced Wally Fuller's car. John Capps is going to join us, Nitro Funny Car stalwart. He's been out there for years and years, and we'll make sure to ask him about that stunt driving that Wally just turned us on to. Also, and then going on to Memorial Day, we're going to take that day off. We're going to have a day off. Hope you all enjoy that day. And then I've started reaching out to some folks for June, and I'll provide Kay some names and some targets as she does doing just an amazing job lining up these great guests for us. So that's it for, I do want to go, we do have to go to those we lost. One name to mention this week, but a big name. On the 24th of March, we lost Bob Gillig. Bob is a pro stock owner driver from Lake Zurich, Illinois, just northwest of Chicago. Passed away from a heart attack 1 week ago. Bob was, like I say, an owner, driver, tuner of many pro stock cars from the Midwest. Ran with 500 cubic inches, often ran with big mountain motors in the car. His son, Tony Gillig, primarily his driver. They also raced Quick 8, Top Sportsman, Pro Street. Bob did it all. Really well-regarded guy from back in the day. Big advocate of just huge horsepower. No nitrous, baby. He just liked the motors big and liked to make the horsepower. But Big Bob Gillig passing away 1 week ago today on the 24th. Farewell to Bob. So, John, that's it for the show tonight. Any final thoughts from you, sir?
Well, it was just great having Walt Fuller with us tonight. He's got some incredibly fantastic stories to tell us, and I appreciated him. You know, he's a very down-to-earth guy, and he just tells it like it is and like it was and like it will be. And I really appreciated Walt coming on the show. And thanks to Kay for getting him lined up for us. And I'm looking forward next week to having Dan Pettit.
Pettinato.
Pettinato. I did his graphic recently, and the Rat Poison is a killer car, no pun intended. It's really great. So yeah, everybody come back next week, and we're gonna have another great show.
You betcha. Thank you, John. So let's do a wrap, folks. We want to thank Wally Fuller, who was terrific. John Bachman, of course, my brother, Kay Turkelson, Rob McCabe, who has all the guys, or most of the guys, from Pomona into the drag lists already. Thank you, sir. Mel Bashir, who does the same thing from the 50s, and Ron Toombs, who also covers the early days. Thanks, guys. Also, thanks forever to Danny White, who did it for so many years. Thanks to Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reunion Radio, and Wingding Media. Click the like and the share button, and with your Facebook friends also, the little drag list icon right down there. That's how you subscribe to the show. So click that bad boy and make sure you don't miss a thing. Check in draglist.com every day to see what's new. We got new stuff up there every day, including all the coverage from last weekend's NHRA. Big national event in Pomona, the Winters. Congrats to all those winners. And then finally, folks, see you next Monday night, April 7th. Can you believe it's April yet? But we'll be talking to Dan Pettinato and talking about that big bad fuel altered he drives, the Rat Poison. Until then, we'll see you. Have a